So I'm here with Jan of Paws Path. Hey, Jan.
Hi, Craig. How are you?
And I understand that March is National Animal Poison Prevention Month. Well, it's interesting. There's a month for everything, but you would think that every month would be National Animal Poison.
Oh. Yes, I would think, yes, I think it would probably be a good idea to have that be every month or all the time, obviously. So, that we keep our pets as safe and our animals as safe as possible.
And what does that mean, though? I mean,
Um,
in practical terms, how could people be more careful about that?
Yeah, I maybe what I'll do is I'll go through a lot of the statistics that came out recently, and this will tell people a little bit more about what are the top hazards for pets,
Hmm.
and then that way they can better decide or more I don't know, I want to say change anything that they need to change to keep their animals as healthy as possible.
Hmm.
So for the first time ever, which is I think, which is very interesting and probably a whole different conversation, is that over-the-counter medication and supplements top the list of being from topping the list, meaning that there were the most calls to animal poison control regarding, these issues. And I'll go from the most, from the highest percentage to the lowest.
Okay.
So for the first time, over-the-counter medications actually and supplements top the list as being the most common call for poison control, animal poison control. And that was 28,000 cases from that the ASPCA actually monitors and has a poison control center for animals. So the most calls were in cases that were reported were for over-the-counter meds and supplements. And I guess it's probably because I think it's probably the most common thing that people do now. Almost everybody, most people take a lot of over-the-counter medication, and I think almost everybody I know are taking a lot of supplements. So that's
This
the
would be
most.
common dietary supplements. You mean
Yeah,
you'd just be complicated for a pet.
that's right. Or the amount that they're eating, who knows if they get into a bottle or into a package, maybe if they ate one, it would be okay, but they might be eating more than one.
Right. Yeah.
So, the second is the human prescription medications, which, doesn't surprise me at all because I think, the majority of, Americans or people take a lot of, prescription drugs. The next one is, insecticides, which, things like, call exterminators and getting things to, I guess, get rid of termites and ants and things like that, which, the next being human foods. So there are certain foods which are toxic to pets. I would say the most common ones are onions, garlic, grapes, and raisins and alcohol. But the most common sort of chemical that's in a lot of foods is xylitol,
Oh, wow.
which is in things like toothpaste and a lot of different foods now have xylitol, and it's quite toxic to pets, especially dogs. And
And
generally,
xylitol is put there as a non-toxic sweetener or as a cheap
yeah,
alternative, right?
yes. And most commonly in dogs, but that's probably because dogs tend to, I think, eat more, get into food a lot more than cats do. I don't think cats get into, garbage as much, depending on how your household is structured.
Hmm.
But it seems to be more calls about dogs than cats. The next thing is household items. So mainly they talk about, when they say household items, it's pretty much, I think the majority is cleaning products, fire logs, paint, anything chemical or that, that you might have in your home. The next is veterinary medications, which I think gets to be a problem because obviously they're on a specific dosage. And that's problematic because most of them, most times, a lot of pet medications are chewables and they actually have like a attractive flavor, like they're chicken flavored or something. And so fish flavored for cats. So, if they get into it, they're going to want to eat it.
Hmm.
Of the food that's separated out is chocolate. And I thought this was, the higher quality or the higher amount of cocos tend to be a lot more dangerous for animals. And I just figured this people should make note of this, especially since this week is the Easter holiday, and I know that a lot of people have a lot of candy around for children, so they should probably be careful and not leave that out. Plants, indoor and outdoor plants. There are certain plants that can be toxic if your animal eats them or chews them, if they're in your yard or if they're in your home. Rodenticides, which is really rodent killers, which, rat poison, things like that, which doesn't surprise anybody. And then lawn and garden products, and it always is find interesting that when you walk, like when I walk the dog, I always see these little signs up on lawns, this lawn has been sprayed with chemicals. So remember, chemicals that are out there in the grass and everything. And so I thought maybe I'd make a few suggestions for people as to how they can keep their pets safer. Like there's the list. I can say it's pretty common, and pretty obvious, but I think that we all get into our routine and we tend to simplify our lives because we're all so busy to make it easier for ourselves. So I have, a lot of people who don't have pets, and I'm sure people who do have pets do the same, who leave their supplements and their medication out on counters or in areas which are not closed. And so, because otherwise they're afraid they're going to forget them to take them. And so I would say, keep all that stuff locked away and closed so that your animal is not likely to get into them. A great way if you want to get rid of, household items is to green your home and to use much more natural cleaning products. It's going to be safer for you and safer for your pets if you don't use harsh chemicals around them, and actually also increase the chance of them eating it if they happen to get into a cabinet or drink from a bucket of, of water containing something harmful. If possible, don't leave food on counters. I'm a huge advocate of that. I tend not to do that. I also recommend that people use garbage pails with either lids that close, or if they have a cabinet, which, their garbage pail can fit in, to use that instead. And then there are a number of essential oils which have been found to be good rodent preventers, like peppermint, which mice don't like peppermint, and clove oil. Hot pepper spray, not like the hot pepper spray you get in the can, but making like a spray from habaneros works well. Rodents don't like it, and most likely either with your pet, which is a good thing because they probably won't like to eat it, and then and that's all really really useful information. Now, the thing I do have to say that if your pet does happen to get into poison, obviously go to the veterinarian. Make sure, they have methods by way of getting rid of toxins and everything. So I would say that if your pet does it into something or you're fearful that they might have eaten something that, they're vomiting or whatever, then just take them to the vet. Like, be safe.
Yeah.
Use common sense and,
Yeah. And also your pet can't tell you if there's internal pain.
That's right, and sometimes, you'll be able to tell they'll be very uncomfortable or they'll be very lethargic or they're really, they vomited and they're sleeping a lot, very abnormal behavior for them, let's say. But, better to be safe and, get them, call animal poison control or get them to the vet than, have something very, have a harmful situation get even worse.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good information. So hopefully people can take that to heart and put into some action where they can actually, protect their pets, because nobody wants to see their pets get into any kind of danger.
Yeah. And, we do, take care of them. And I think most people try to feed them well and do all the good things. Right. And, you just to be a little bit cautious and to plan a little bit, organize your home in a way that is going to be as safe as possible for you also. We don't really need to be around chemicals that much either. And maybe the food's not a little bit different because, some of those foods, obviously, we are going to eat. But there are certain things that you can do to keep everybody in your house, especially now, holidays are coming up again. and we want to keep our pets and ourselves as happy and healthy as possible.
Yeah. Well, great. That's been great. Thanks so much, Jan.
Okay. Thank you, Craig.
Talk to you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.